When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. That's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it, you can influence it, you can build your own things that other people can use. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
The early 1980s. 1981. Apple II has become the world's most popular computer, and Apple has grown to a $300 million corporation, becoming the fastest growing company in American business history. With over 50 companies vying for a share, IBM enters the personal computer market in November of 1981 with the IBM PC. 1983. Apple and IBM emerge as the industry's strongest competitors, each selling approximately $1 billion worth of personal computers in 1983. Each will invest greater than $50 million for R&D and another $50 million for television advertising in 1984, totaling almost $250 million combined. The shakeout is in full swing. The first major firm goes bankrupt with others teetering on the brink. Total industry losses for 1983 overshadow even the combined profits of Apple and IBM for personal computers. It is now 1984. It appears IBM wants it all. Apple is perceived to be the only hope to offer IBM a run for its money. Dealers, initially welcoming IBM with open arms, now fear an IBM-dominated and controlled future. They are increasingly turning back to Apple as the only force that can ensure their future freedom. IBM wants it all and is aiming its guns on its last obstacle to industry control, Apple. Will Big Blue dominate the entire computer industry? The entire information age? Was George Orwell?
We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
In a live-action movie, the director goes out and shoots lots of film, typically between 10 and 100 times more footage than will end up on the screen. And then they take it all into the editing room, and they build their movie in the editing room. And that's why, sometimes you see a movie and you go, that stunk. Didn't they know it? Well, the answer is yes, they did, but they knew it too late. They knew it in the editing room, and they go, oh, Jesus. And by the time they knew it, the actors were gone, the sets were down, they ran out of money, and they had what they had, and they made the best movie they could. Well,
or not.
Or not, yeah. So in animation, it is so expensive that you cannot afford to animate more than a few % more than is going to end up on the screen. You could never afford to animate 10 times more than is going to end up on the screen. So how do you do it? Well, Walt Disney himself solved this problem decades ago. And the way he solved it was he said, we have to edit our film before we make it, not after. Well, how do you edit a film before you make it? Well, you get your story team together, and you do storyboards. You do these little pictures for every key scene. But that wasn't enough. Then what he did was he actually photographed them on film. He filmed each picture, of which there are, thousands. And then he got he got scratch voices, people around the studio to do the voices, and he'd even put in some scratch music. And then he could watch his movie. And we still do that today. We use video, we were more sophisticated at it, but basically we build our movie before we make it out of these story sketches, and we video them, and we put scratch music and scratch voices so we can watch our movie. And invariably, what you think is going to work crashes and burns when you see it in the reels.
How did you, sir?
What have I got to do with this?
Exactly. I mean, you're a guy who founds high-tech companies and tries to make another $1 billion.
Yeah, well, I don't think of myself that way, but
I know you don't.
I wish I could.
No, stop.
Yeah.
How do you think of yourself? I mean, after Apple, after Next, how do you think of yourself?
The things that I've done in my life, I think the things we do now at Pixar, these are team sports. You know, they're not something that one person does. We've got, you have to have an extraordinary team because these are, you're trying to climb a mountain with a whole party of people. A lot of stuff to bring up the mountain. So one person can't do it. And I first got involved in this when I heard about this incredible group of computer graphics specialists that George Lucas had assembled at Lucasfilm that he wanted to sell. And so I went up there and saw what they were doing, and I met the leader of this group, Dr. Ed Catmull. And Ed told me about his dream, which was to make the first computer animated feature film someday, and showed me what this team was working on. And I was blown away. I spent a lot of time in computer graphics with the Macintosh and the Laser Writer and stuff, but this was way beyond anything I'd seen. And so I bought into that dream, both spiritually, if you will, and financially, and we bought the computer division from George and incorporated it as Pixar. John was there from the very start, Ed was there, and we were joined by other people along the way. And it took us 10 years to do it. But
what was so hard?
Oh, there were...
Good question, huh, John?
You know,
yeah, that's a good question.
It's it took us a long time to build the technical foundation to do this stuff. We were pioneering every step of the way. Pixar invented all this stuff.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.